revolution took place, and very recently that we know that we could make an entry into what is now known as information age. And who is the main person responsible for bringing in this transformational change? He also did the college education in the same period in which I did. He also joined CERN, the leading research organization of physics or science, high-energy physics and cosmology. I also started working at the same time in pursuit of theoretical high-energy physics and cosmology. He was not working in theoretical high-energy physics and cosmology, but he was working in science in CERN as a contractor rather than an employee or the professor. And he was assigned a task, and the task was that whenever you pursue theoretical research, especially in theoretical physics, you have to go through many papers. Papers are published in journals which you may be noticing. And before I forget, so I also wish to give you one more suggestion, because your president was speaking about it, that you must be aware about the latest researches happening. So I am giving you one website which is very useful. The site name is arxiv.org, archive.org. So archive, the spelling may mislead you. It is by the community of the researchers. In primarily it had the classifications and preprints of the paper which are not yet published but have been submitted maybe to some journal. So the archive of the preprints. So in those days I was also getting preprints from CERN, and I was fortunate enough, I would say, because it's just a matter of luck, that we used to get those preprints from CERN, and so I was aware about his work in the period of time of its development. Now everybody knows. And that fellow, when arrived at the solution, the task which was given to him, and the task which was given to him was to make the life of the researchers in theoretical physics comfortable, so that without going to the library, they can easily. So in the mainframe of CERN, the papers were converted into textual documents and were available on mainframe, but it was very difficult that, because when you go through a research paper, as you will find, then there are many other references. And now to even read and understand one line of a research paper, you have to go through another research paper. And in that paper also it is to read again some line and understand it, you have to go through many research papers. So I hope that Nexus would inculcate this kind of learning in your that you do. So he was given the task to make it comfortable. He developed, now it is well known, hypertext transfer protocol and hypertext markup language, and then he called his team and asked everybody that we should make the solution. In general, in science, the solutions are not named, but he, on his assistance and on his suggestion, the solution was named by the team as World Wide Web. And everybody laughed at him that how can a simple solution will just allow you to move from one research paper of physics to another research paper by clicking on something called hyperlink, by using a protocol which is called hypertext transfer protocol, and by following the language which was created for the purpose, which was a scripting programming language, not as attractive as a procedural programming language, a scripting programming language designed for that purpose, for first time the HTML. So when he said World Wide Web, people laughed at him. Team members, not people I would say, because they were present during the discussion. And later on, you have witnessed that since his contribution, what is the name of the person? Can you name him? Some of you may be knowing his name. Some of you may not be knowing his name. But in my understanding, he is the person who has changed the world. So a few days back on my work Facebook, I put up the question, who is the best entrepreneur ever? So people gave different ideas, Alva Edison, Steve Jobs, but then I gave my version. Then in my understanding, this fellow, because he has changed everything, which is the way the things are done today, and the way the things were done prior to this invention in 1989, and in fact, practically it became more popular after 1991. So in 1989, he came up with a solution. Most of you have been born after 1989. Most of you means only the faculty members are born, few of them, prior to 1989. But all the students we are having are definitely born prior to 1989, after 1989. So do you know the name? क्या नाम था उसका व्यक्ति का? Tim Berners-Lee. He is a professor. He didn't patented the idea. He allowed the free use of his ideas and his work. And that's why now you know that anything which you do is because of some involvement of the initiated work initiated by you. I am not saying that everything which you are making use of has been developed by Tim Berners-Lee. But revolutionary changes started happening after his contribution. So the initial aim was not such a revolutionary thing. And that is why in quantum technology also, if you pursue in a future some path, you must remember that sometimes something which you will do will be quite focused. But a new revolution can begin. You can also become Tim Berners-Lee type person. You have a choice. Either you can become a cricketer, a singer, an actor, but I don't consider none of them as a celebrity in my own understanding. They are celebrities. They have respect in the society. People at large may not be knowing about it, but the real people who do matters in the dynamics of the world and universe are the people like Tim Berners-Lee. So he has influenced the life of each and every person. The two examples generally I give, so I would also give another example, and it is not related to here but would be significant in some manner. I would suggest later in the next lecture maybe. And the second example is that the person like Tim Berners-Lee has influenced the life of all the 7 billion people in some manner. At least even if you have to get Aadhaar registration or something to do, you have to make use of it. कोई भी ऐसा व्रत नहीं ले सकता। तो पहले लोग मान के चलते थे कि सबसे ज़्यादा शपथ और व्रत और सौगंध कौन लेते हैं, तो जैन साधु लेते हैं। और मैंने देखा है कि जो जैन साधु हैं वो भी व्हाट्सएप का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, वो भी टिम बर्नर्स-ली के सॉल्यूशन का इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं। तो जो ये बात के चलते कपड़े तक तो उन्होंने त्याग दिए, लेकिन still they are making use of the solution from the forum, and so we know that he had changed the world, which was not conceived by somebody, not planned by somebody, not given him as a task. The Nexus would also make you capable enough of working in that manner, not bothering about it. What change it meant. You have to just contribute in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, and it so happens, it may happen that it may be a very small step, but every small step is also important, or it may become also a step taken by the Tim Berners-Lee in developing and making life of people like me working in theoretical physics comfortable. He could go through and make a breakthrough to change the life of each and every. And now even medicines are delivered by Tata 1 MG and Apollo Pharmacy using their technological solutions. And now not only the medicines are delivered in 8 minutes at your residence, now the even consultation is done by using those new means. So definitely the telephone was in existence for long, but it had no such power which we now have the present day technologies are. So what should we come to at this stage to the conclusion? That life and mind and everything is changing and are not accidental byproduct of a classical framework. Now this is a statement which I have written. Okay, so you can read it. What is the first line here? life and mind are not accidental byproducts of a classical clockwork universe. Now, if you understand this statement, इसको पढ़ना तो बहुत आसान है. If you understand this particular sentence, then you can understand what we are aiming in quantum technologies after. So this is the like जैसे कहते हैं कि ब्रह्म सूत्र, fundamental, most fundamental statement which you can. So what do you mean by life? What do you mean by mind? What do you mean by consciousness? That is definitely very complex, but I am not paying emphasis on the terms life and mind. Here emphasis is on classical clockwork universe. Now, what is a classical clockwork universe? So this question can also be put before AI tools. It would give some answer to you that what is a classical clockwork universe. What is universe? So that's with clockwork and classical are adjective, and the main noun in this particular is universe. So what is universe? So universe I have defined in the very first slide that says everything which we call natural is part of the universe. Universe is the start of all natural system. One definition we can say anything. So you are also part of universe. Sun is also part of universe. Black hole is also part of universe. Dark matter is also part of universe. Everything which is physical is universe, but not the grasping in number because these are abstract mathematical notions are not part of the universe. Now, what we mean by classical clockwork universe? Why the technologies are called classical technologies and which technology can be called quantum technology? And so the question would also arise that in science, which science is called classical science and what science is called quantum science? Because using an adjective क्या होता है कि तारीफ कभी करनी है तो लोग जैसे मैंने कहा आपके चेहरे की तारीफ गुलाब के फूल के जैसी कर देते हैं, उनको कोई चिंता नहीं होती कि सच है कि झूठ है, पर वो तारीफ कर देते हैं. तो adjectives बहुत important. So here we are using adjectives, and if we don't understand the adjective and हम केवल कभी हृदय की तरह कुछ भी एडजेक्टिव कहीं भी लगा दें तो गड़बड़ हो सकती है. Especially in the science, technology, engineering, mathematics discipline, because poetry is a literary discipline where you can cross the boundaries, where you may have different set of rules. But here we are primarily concerned with what is possible and physical as per the laws of nature. Science, technology, and engineering cannot change the laws of nature. And so that's why in one of the previous slides, I have not mentioned here, but I have mentioned in that particular slide that what is the difference? That the laws of nature are considered as divine. How they are expressed, that doesn't matter. So they are not changing. Everything else is changing. Laws are not changing. So that's a common belief in the science which has now been done away in modern time, but I do not want to enter into that area. So I am saying that the most of the science, technology, engineering which you would consider in your coming 5-year times, maybe you can safely assume that the laws of the universe are divine. They cannot be changed. And at the same time, you know that the laws of the society are divine. Most of the time they are broken. So our constitution, our laws, तो हमारा जो धर्म पास हो जाता है तो अम्बेडकर के कैंपस के जो डायरेक्टर था, सेंट्रल डायरेक्टर, वो लॉ में डिग्री कर रहे हैं, इंजीनियरिंग भी जानते हैं, लॉ भी कर रहे हैं. वो लॉ में डिग्री कर रहे हैं तो जो लॉ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के लॉज हैं तो चेंज हो सकते हैं, कैन बी अमेंडेड. बट when Einstein made a comment about quantum mechanics, and that comment, what he made is very popular comment, and he said that God doesn't play with dice. And by the God, he was not referring to the concept of God which is there in religion. By the God, the term God, he was referring to divine laws of nature. In most of the scientific literature, God means divine laws of nature. And divine laws of nature, laws which cannot be changed. And he said that the laws of nature cannot involve probability. So he said that God doesn't play with dices. Dices when there are probabilities, sometimes 6 may come up, sometimes 5 may come up. So Einstein made this serious objection, which you once you come to the quantum mechanics, you will realize its importance. And then one of the famous scientists said him, don't say God what to do, or don't dictate God what to do. You cannot dictate divine laws. You can make use of divine laws of nature. आप प्रकृति में ये नहीं कह सकते कि आप मुझे तो यही पसंद है तो प्रकृति का यही नियम। बट आप नरेंद्र मोदी जी को प्रधानमंत्री जी को कह सकते हैं कि हमारे को ये नियम पसंद है, इस तरह के नियम बनाए जाए विधानसभा में, लोकसभा में, ये आप कह सकते हैं। जो हमारे man-made laws हैं, man-made laws can be changed and can accommodate your wishes. Laws of nature cannot be changed by human. We are not the even unless we get that power, which may happen in future, and this statement may also become wrong, and that is that we can create a universe. And suppose that DSEU student is creating a new universe, maybe with a new set of laws, and there are ideas like that people are working on today also, that maybe you must have a universe in your own name and your own type, where the rules which you will consider would be the rules of the nature, and therefore you would be the god of that nature. So that's time would only tell that this thing will happen or not, but I wish to continue with the slide that laws, life and mind are accidental byproduct of a classical clockwork universe. And I will come back to this particular slide, but before that I will explain something which I may have. Here I have already written divine laws, either we know or not. In multiverses, different universe may have different divine laws, and laws for machine. Machine can also be considered and laws can be determined like HTTP was also a law. Protocol is nothing but a law. There is a difference. Everything which is studied in physics, we study in a theoretical framework, like Newtonian mechanics, general theory of relativity, classical electrodynamics, science में कोई भी branch there is a theoretical framework involved. Now, what is a theoretical framework? I wish to explain to you in my own way, so that you can understand the difference between classical and quantum mechanics. What physics is addressing to a physical system. A physical system, say, is accessible in nature. And what you do in a class of physics, do you have a physical system?